And also, a reminder, I have announced last week about my new website. And if you've missed it, I would let you know again. I have a brand new website under the name makemarriagegreatagain.net. That's the domain name. So go there and check it out. And I will be posting blogs and articles as I go along with regarding relationships. So something you've missed or something you'd like to read up about, you can check it there. And also, I do have a free book for download. Okay, I've written the book. It's about called Your Complete Partner. I wrote it, quite a number of years ago, but I recently updated it. And it's, like I keep saying, how to find the right partner for life. If you intend to be looking for something long-term, something permanent, okay, that's when you need help. And of everything else, the most important thing to do to ensure a great relationship, and especially a marriage, is to get it right the first time by choosing the right partner. And the thing is, people just don't know how to choose, really. You think about it. Do people's parents teach them? I mean, did your parents sit you down and said, honey, I know one day you're going to be looking for a marriage partner, and this is our advice as to what to look for and how to choose. Has anyone ever remembered having that conversation with their parents? I really have to say, probably not. Don't think many people have had that. Actually, I haven't heard of anyone that's had their parents sit down and talk to them about that. And also, I mean, society as well. I mean, sure enough, there's lots of relationship advice being thrown around, and relationship experts getting on there, either by social media or YouTube or even on television. They normally have all those guests and, guests are relationship expert and that sort of thing. But really think about it. Has any of them actually gave the advice and actually said you need to pick the right partner in the first place? Yeah? No, I don't think so. I don't think I've heard any relationship expert or any psychologist actually put that advice out. And that is so sad, because that actually gets to the crux of it. Because even though they might say, oh, you need to match up on have this right interest and be aligned with this and this same type of thinking in this place, same interests and so forth. But at the really end, at the crux of it, if you found a naturally compatible partner in the first place, then all those other things are going to automatically match, because that gets to the heart of it. And they all miss it for some reason or not. It seems so obvious. Hey, find someone that you're naturally compatible with. But there are so many people that, actually, so many experts that actually don't say that. No one realizes that it's such the obvious thing. Now, I know, when I go to saying this type of advice, I think, oh, that's just, conservative common sense. It's so obvious. Yes, it is obvious. But however, if someone didn't point that out to you, would you even think of it? That's a big thing. Would you even think of it? And if you didn't, then this is very valuable advice. But also, like I say, look, if you're not after anything serious, you just want to have a bit of fun, have someone for the moment just to go out with and have some company and that sort of, and then that's fine. You won't need any of this advice. In fact, all you need to find is someone good looking and fun. Well, that's it. That's all you need. I mean, don't overthink it. That's all you need. Because it's not for the long term, is it? And that's all you need when you just want to have a bit of fun. Okay, today we we have also a guest in the studio with me. And when I say guest, it's more like a helper, a co-host, that sort of thing. And it is one of our fellow presenters on the station, and Michel. Welcome to the Relationship Whisperer Show.
Hi, how you going? I don't know if my microphone is working.
It is working.
It's
yeah,
working.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I'm seeing that. Yeah,
that's great. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah. Well, just that I usually don't have guests in the studio, so I guess we had to do a bit of testing there. Now, Michelle is normally does the very manly show about cars and all that, and so I thought it'd be
Very manly show. No, it's a motoring show.
it's a motoring show.
So and believe me, a lot of women are involved in motoring, not just guys.
Yeah, well, in the industry.
Yeah, you'd be
Well,
surprised.
publishing and all that, but I wouldn't say racing or anything
You're
like that.
kidding? You'd be surprising.
I haven't seen any women Formula One drivers.
Not Formula One. Formula One is just one little pinnacle that maybe women haven't reached yet. But
Yeah.
Indianapolis on Indy, the 12 hours. I mean, Bathurst is on now. We have the 12 hours of Bathurst. There's female compares.
But
There are no drivers this time. But we've had them at the supercars. They race. They race in karting.
So is it like an open category? It's all anyone? Is it just, do they have
Motor
separate
racing
women?
isn't just an opening category. I mean, there's multiple categories in motor
Well,
racing.
what I meant was it's not divided like a women's race and men's race.
Oh,
it's
no.
just everyone.
No, they race together.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Unlike
by
tennis or something.
Yeah,
like this.
yeah. That's it.
No, they race together. I mean, it's a vehicle that you're racing, and it's skills.
Yeah.
And women have got just as good skills as men anyway.
However, I'll have to, though, disagree in certain being because physiologically we are different and chemically we are different. Women are estrogen-based and men are testosterone-based. And so regarding the much larger amount, like, yes, women do have a little bit of testosterone, but predominantly estrogen, and men are predominantly testosterone. Now, besides physical strength, muscle build and everything, testosterone does give men another feature, and that is spatial ability.
Say that again. It gives them what?
Spatial ability.
Spatial ability.
You know, just like that's why they drive cars. So I mean, look, that's why they know female Formula One drivers because of about reaction times and so forth. And it's just like, you know, parallel parking. You see, far more women struggle with that than men do. Something simple, and that's not putting women down. It's just a different ability, different. Different makeup gives you different abilities, and that's a great thing, because then you complement each other. This is the thing I want to get people not to keep saying, "Oh, women can't do that, therefore they're less than men." It's like because they're different than men. Not you need both. I mean, one is not better than the other. I mean, you really feel it if you're missing the other side. It's just like a right hand and a left hand. You see, your left hand, most people are right-handed, yeah? But so the right hand is normally stronger than your left hand. When you reach for a cup or anything, first thing you use the right hand, your dominant hand.
If you're right-handed.
If you're right-handed,
Yes.
but usually that's the case.
That's right.
I'm using that example because most people can relate.
Unless your name is Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, you was left-handed?
He was ambidextrous. He
Ambidextrous, yeah.
He used to write with one hand and draw with the other.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Well, but he's an outlier case.
Yeah.
He was a freak, a fluke, so to speak.
I would say so, yes. It was amazing.
He wasn't a normal person. Yeah. So I'm just saying, yeah, but so even though predominantly you use your right hand, so your right hand is better than your left. People would think that. But if you don't have your left hand, you're going to really miss it, wouldn't you?
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be really tough.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. That's why I said, look, they would say, well, women or men cannot do either each other's jobs, and it's a good thing because you complement each other.
Good point.
Okay. And so that's why there are no female Formula One drivers. I mean, even though the cockpit is so small.
They will get there one day, I promise you.
Yeah. But even though the cockpit is so small that it's actually easier to fit a woman in than it is a man. True. The cockpit is very small. Cockpit is very small.
It's true.
The driver.
Yep.
But because of the high acceleration of the speed, and they need to, really be on the turn, that men have the advantage because of the testosterone. It's not about physical strength then, is it? Because it's about driving, but it's a different ability. And that's fine.
You should have let me prepare for that. That's not fair.
No, this is one of the real realms of female-male differentiation. So I don't expect you to be able to. I expect you to know about cars.
You know we're going to talk about this thing on the World on Wheels next Saturday.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
we're back on air next Saturday.
Oh, I can come on.
So I might just drag you on there as my guest next Saturday morning.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, you're on.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, but that's one thing. Now, I don't know if you've actually noticed, but particularly, I guess, I feel like, at least the last decade, I really felt, and I've seen that marriage has been constantly attacked from many quarters around, social media and also cultural. They're trying to do a cultural shift by promoting alternate lifestyles and that sort of thing. And people are being influenced to think that marriage is outdated, unnecessary and uncool. It's uncool. See, so much so you have even teenagers and children being afraid of being normal because then they're not special.
Yeah.
You've heard of that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I think it is really sad. And so, it's been really under attack, and that is a very sad and actually very tragic thing. Because if you think back, civilization and marriage and the family foundation has been the foundation of civilization and society. True? Mother, father, raising their children.
Yeah,
passing
without a piece of paper saying marriage, but
in one form or another.
Because that's the only way you're going to make the world continue.
Yeah, a commitment and stability as well. I mean, even though back then there wasn't anything such as marriage certificates.
That's what I mean.
But it was always, there was a ceremony in front of the whole community, and it was acknowledgement in front of the community. Everyone knows they're married now. Okay, so that's why I find it quite laughable when couples just say, oh, it's just a piece of paper. Doesn't mean anything.
Look, society makes all of this thing. Society makes marriage. Society, in whatever part of the world you are, looks at marriage in a different way. And the marriage being the union of a male and a female.
A male and female, yeah.
Whether you look at African tribes, the way they do all the preparations before, whether you look at Asians' way, whether you look at the Arabic way, the Islamic way, whether you look at the Christian way, the Indian way, every way has got customs.
Yeah, different customs.
But at the end, it's a man and a woman.
Yeah, and then you married a woman, and with the intention of it being bonded for life. Whether or not it actually happens that way is another matter. But the intention is there.
That's how you start.
Yeah, that's how it starts. No one says, all right, we'll get married and it'll be for 5 years, and then it'll expire. No one goes in there thinking like that.
No, it's not a business deal.
No one thinks that's the end of the contract, so to speak. No one thinks like that, do they?
It's true, absolutely. Yeah.
So, it is, look, like anything, it's had faults, mostly because, to me, I think, because people don't actually understand what marriage is. Because, and especially, like I say, under attack. I mean, marriage has been very, very discouraged by feminists and those pushing a woke agenda. I mean, a feminist view is that why be tied down to a man and slave? Why bring up kids? Your career is the most important thing. So they want them to forgo family and a marriage for their career. But really, what's a career? Trying to make give you some validation, I guess. It's that okay, yes, you do make some money, but in the end, is money everything? This.
Of course not. But look, I mean, society ever since, Adam and Eve, there was always a male and a female. The male was the gatherer-hunter, and the female was the one who looked after
the kids.
Before the kids,
looked
after the cave, made sure that when the man came home, helped cook, and so on. And feminists want to change that. Obviously, they want to be able to say that we are as as powerful, as strong as men. However, there are more than just simply proving that we are. I mean, I know a lot of women who are amazingly career professionals, who've had children, who still have a career, who run huge corporations.
Yeah.
And they don't have to prove anything. They're happily married.
Yeah. But also, can you imagine the drain on the woman? I mean, doing two things at once. You become a jack of all trades. It's amazing there's super women that can do it. But by and large, once you start splitting up your time and your attention to two different things, you don't do either of them as well as if you had focused. No, that's just generally the case.
That's normal, except that women can do
normal.
it.
But some women
can do it.
Some women can do it.
Men can't do it as well, but women do it.
Because women are used to, say, multitasking.
Yeah, they're very good at multitasking.
Yeah, but then going back to the caveman example, this is something most people don't realize. Okay, why is the man traditionally the hunter out there and the woman around in the cave?
You talked about it when we were talking about Formula One. He's the one who has got more testosterone than estrogen and vice versa. That's the only reason. He's tougher, bigger.
He has more stamina.
Yeah.
Can run faster and do more endurance, more physical strength. Much so naturally better equipped to do the hunting.
Yeah.
So, and then the woman, because she doesn't do that role, she doesn't need to be as physically strong or have as much stamina. It's not needed then. Okay. So then her role was looking after the heath, doing the cooking. But this is a very, very important point. Not as many people realize this, make the connection, and also not many cultures actually put this in action. Okay, if you're a hunter, you go out hunting. Okay, and then you bring her home, and what do? I mean, you can only eat what you've hunted. If you do not do skinning and preserve the meat, you don't get to don't get to make it last, do you? That means then you can only eat whatever you catch or you manage to kill. So you have to keep constantly going and doing it to the hunting. And boy, imagine if you had a bad hunting day or it becomes winter, you're stuffed. Yeah.
You're not stuffed, you're hungry.
Yeah, well, you're hungry.
Yeah,
but effectively
you're unstuffed.
Well, you know what I mean. So, you can take time off from your hunting and do the skinning and the preserving yourself. But that means that time you're not able to hunt and bring in more. Then you've had to split your skill set into two. Okay, so neither of them you don't spend your whole time. And then, see, the more time you do something, the better you get at it. Yeah?
Sure.
Yeah.
Practice makes
perfect.
Yeah.
But if you split your time, then you're only going to be like mediocre or average.
So what do you do?
You need a partner.
Exactly.
You need a partner. You don't need a second hunter. You don't need someone else to go hunting with you. What you need is someone there to do the skinning and preserving.
And cook it sometimes.
And cooking.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a very important job. So then, without having to worry about that, you can spend your whole time doing your hunting. Okay, gather more, able to bring in more game, and you get better at it. And you only have to concentrate on your hunting. Don't have to worry about anything like that. That's why you don't need a second hunter. You need someone to do skinning and preserving.
Yep.
So how does that relate back to our modern life? Well, you need the provider, someone. So it would be someone that's naturally would bring in the most money, naturally, or so someone. And normally it's a man. Why? Because he's got more stamina. Okay, he can work longer hours. That enables him to work longer hours. That's why you see most professional top chefs are male, not female. Nothing to do with it. It's just because they can stand the long hours in the kitchen more. That's the main reason, even though on average women are better cooks than men. True? So he do that, and she, now this is something that's taught in Eastern cultures, especially Far Eastern cultures like Chinese, Japanese and Korean. Men go out work. It's a woman's task to administer with all the administration, because women are better at administration. Yeah? And her job is to make sure make the money he brings in stretch as far as she can, and to look after the money. And if she is even better, with more skill, she can grow the money. But expect it to grow.
It's funny you should say Far Eastern. When I came to Australia in the 70s, I came from the Middle East. I came from Lebanon, and in Lebanon, my dad brought the money in. My dad looked after everything. My mum looked after the household.
Yeah, but not the money.
Not the money. But here, I was amazed by colleagues when I started working who would take their pay packet on the Thursday in a piece of paper, like a little envelope that they used to get all their money in. Will go home and give it to their wife, and the wife will give them daily
how much to spend.
or something you can spend for your own.
Yeah.
She looked after the whole household. And so it's not just Far Eastern or Eastern.
But it's not done that in Western society anymore.
Not anymore, but it used to be.
Used to be, but the thing is...
And there are still people that I know where the guy just earns, goes into a joint account, and the wife looks after it. And he's not allowed to touch it.
Yeah, that's why there has to be absolute trust on both partners.
Of course,
he has to be able to trust her, not only that she'll manage it for the family and not just put it in her own separate pocket, but she's capable of doing it.
Absolutely.
Has the skill. And what I say, grow it. She is more capable to grow it by investment. Now, how that translates back to caveman times is that she'll cut the meat that he's brought in.
She'll make it last.
Yeah, no. If she's more capable, take that out as bait and fish and bring up in more. If she is more capable.
Okay.
Okay, makes sense. To grow it.
Yes.
So that's why traditionally in Far Eastern cultures, men are selected for the ability to bring in money, be a provider, and women are selected by how good they are at managing money. See, so a good choice for a man is a good provider. Good choice for a wife is a woman that's frugal. She does not waste the money her husband brings in. Okay. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what you have to select. If you expect your partner to be able to do a job, you have to select for it. Makes sense.
Just bring your CVs and we'll talk about it.
So, what can you do? Show me what can you bring to the table?
Yes.
No. I don't mean that you're a great singer and all that, or a champion swimmer. That's fine and well. That's for yourself. But how would that make our lives as a couple better?
Yeah.
Unless she is doing it professionally and bringing money.
How do you make marriage great again?
Yeah. Is people need to work as a team.
Yeah, always.
And this is people.
In unity, there's strength.
And now in the studio, I am talking with Michel. So he's providing the male voice to this subject, this very important subject. Okay. And then, before the break, I was mentioning feminists that, marriage really has been discouraged by feminists. And I guess it's because of feminists influencing women. They have seemingly changed, at least the younger generation have. But that is bad because that is the generation that at the moment should be getting married at the marriageable age.
What is the marriageable age?
Well, if you want to start a family.
What is the age?
Okay. It would be in your 20s and 30s. For a woman, after that, it's really pushing it.
Really? So 20s, 30s or?
30s. I mean, above that, look, woman biology is a definite window of time when it closes. Yeah. So
I recall in some generation, not generation, some civilizations, women had to marry as soon as they could bear children. So 12, 13, they were marriable age.
I mean, I guess at that time as well, there was
kids.
It's also, I guess, happened a lot with royal families and pushing for political alliances back then.
Yeah.
So that's a bit different.
Put my volume up a little bit. That's much better. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
I couldn't hear myself. So.
Okay.
I hope everybody else could hear.
I can certainly hear you. But okay, if that's better.
No, that's much better. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
it didn't have to be just kings and queens, but it was everything. Tribes, villages,
and everyone tended to marry young back days.
As soon as they had a daughter in the family, well, we have to find a husband for her. What do we do with her?
Yeah.
And it was the days of dowries and having to give families money to take their daughter.
Which I don't get. I don't get it.
Because, see, again, we go back to the days of the men are the hunters.
Yeah.
They could actually bring food, they can provide, they can do all these things.
Yes.
Girls at the time couldn't do anything without a man. So they could be the partner.
So
But if
actually,
they-
hang on. By saying that, by doing that, you are actually saying that woman is nothing but a burden. She's actually not an asset.
I didn't say that.
No.
I
But
didn't say that. I'm
but the
just saying
practice is.
the practice was, no, she was not a burden. She's
Then
not a
why
burden.
do you have to pay a guy to take her?
Because at the time, boys were valued more than girls. It's simple as that. It was
Okay,
the
did the
value of-
girls have any value at all?
Sure, they became a wife somewhere.
Okay, but then it's a case where, okay, come marry me, okay, warm my bed, bear my children, cook and clean for me, and the privilege of doing all that, you better pay me because I have to give you some food to eat.
You're becoming a feminist now.
Where is the equity in that?
You're becoming a
No,
feminist now.
I am a true feminist.
I
I'm
agree.
a true feminist is that women are not the same as men. Okay? Absolutely not the same men, but just as important. As you're saying, and this is where I can't believe it. Yeah, I see all these feminist women saying, don't take his surname. You do not want to be property, anything like that. But when they want to marry, they run back to Daddy. Daddy, I'm getting married, so pay for my wedding. Oh, bloody! If he loves you, why don't you get your fiance to pay for it?
Well,
If a guy wouldn't even put out a dime to marry you, should you be marrying him?
so ironically, let's change a little bit. In Islamic society,
Yeah.
when a girl marries, the husband-to-be puts money down and also puts money down in case he leaves her.
Yeah.
He has to give her money.
So this is kind of like whether or not he leaves her, he still has to give her money
Well-
at the wedding.
To start with,
the
whether
start.
it's gold, whether it's
Yeah.
physical cash, whether it's an account, whether it's
Yeah.
whatever. So that's how it starts. And there's always what we call something at the back end, in case the marriage breaks down. Because, in Islamic society, theoretically, he can say, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you 3 times. And
Yeah.
literally they're divorced.
Divorce, yeah.
Even though you've got to go through the law and whatever.
Yeah.
But still,
But still, yeah.
religiously,
It's always hanging over her.
They have
She's
to-
more
they-
vulnerable.
they have to provide for her.
Yeah.
So in other words, when he leaves her and dumps her, this is between brackets, I'm saying the word dumps her, he has to give her something to survive.
Yeah.
And that's,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Because that society, I guess, because she couldn't earn money, right?
well, yeah.
It's very difficult for a woman to earn money in this society.
Not just simply earn money, but survive without a man providing. Yeah.
And also, I guess even socially, difficult for her to get around without a man and that sort of
technically,
thing. And
Yeah.
and in standing in society is affected without her without a husband.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She becomes a widow and then she's,
A divorced, a dumped
divorced
woman.
divorced,
a
not
dumped
widow,
woman.
sorry.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it. Yeah, this is the thing I don't get with Indian and Western society. How the woman's family has to pay the man because the man has to feed her. Because what you're really saying then, she has no value. She's nothing but actually not even no value, nothing but a burden.
No, she's not the burden because she obviously has to provide at home. She cooks, she looks after him. The man
Yeah, but
comes.
why? Yeah, but why do you have to compensate just to be fed if you are also bringing value? You see, it's
You're not getting an
disparaging.
argument from me. We just, I'm telling you what they do.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it makes no sense to me. Just like in Europe before, the house or this country wants to marry off their princess to a ruler of the other country.
Yeah,
They've got to
that's
provide
another story,
a
yeah.
dowry, that sort of thing. And so basically the guy has to be paid to marry her for the alliance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they did that also in Arabian tribes, in Asian tribes.
No, it's the other way around. I'll tell you.
No, in Arabian tribes it was like that. You
Yeah,
had to- you had to-
Arabian tribes. I'm just saying, but no, like not in China. Well, in China, well, they had a tributary system. I was saying,
Okay,
yeah,
tell us
where where the most important, all the other countries pay tribute to them, Or back then, even had Korea or the other little countries, Vietnam, I think maybe even Japan paid it, or Mongolia. And in return, Chinese princesses were married off to them to keep them happy, have the connection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, because it was considered great honor and privilege to be able to marry a Chinese princess. So she's the value, as she is. So when people say talking about misogynist society, really, and Westerners looking down at other cultures saying being misogynist, really think about it. The woman has value.
You're not getting any arguments from me here. I agree with you.
But the women should not try to be men. That's the thing. My thing I'm trying to say.
You're confusing me today a lot.
Do not be, women have value. You know what they keep, the thing about feminists keep spouting, saying, oh, we're equal to men because we can do what they can do. And saying, you know what? By saying that, you're actually agreeing with all those misogynists that to be equal to men, women are not equal to men unless they can do what men can do, because only the things that men traditionally do have value and are more valuable than what you've done for millennia. Raising children, looking after a household has no value, and then this is like the women that are choosing to be stay-at-home mothers are being so attacked by other women, mostly, for their choices. They don't want a career, they want a family. And they've been called, you're being a doormat. You've given him all the power. There's a big power imbalance. You keep hearing about that.
I agree.
Yeah, and they're thinking, why are you saying that means only that has value? That's the thing. I mean, look, you need both. You need the masculine and the feminine. Just like in Taoism, we say the yang and the yin. Yin and yang. You need both, like a right hand and a left hand. Where you see if society has gone too far one way or the other, there's problems. Like in the West, particularly over the last, let's say, decade, it's become very yin, very feminine. And because of that, you're seeing problems. So it needs to go back. The masculine has to be revived so it can go back to the center where it should be. But then you look at other societies, like some Middle Eastern societies, the feminine is suppressed and everything's very harsh. And the beauty is just gone. It's not there. It's very harsh. So that's a respect. There's also problems in those type of societies. So that's why those are very examples of societies going to the extremes and neglecting the other side, suppressing actually the other side. Yeah. So my spout is yes. I'm a true feminist, and I believe in women's value as women. But also, you also need the men, the masculine. We are both important, just as important as each other. We both have separate jobs and roles, and they're just as equally important. Now, we've had a shortage of nurses, and we're suffering because of that. That is traditionally, it's a nurturing occupation. And you need that. Just as much as we need soldiers, and we need soldiers to actually be effective soldiers, effective what they are, killing machines. But if you try to feminize it, what happens? You do not win wars. Just what they've been trying to do with the military in US, letting in and compromising on so many things. I think we had the crash recently in the US where I think a helicopter, Black Hawk helicopter, crashed with an airline, and it was a female helicopter pilot.
I didn't know that.
That crashed in. It was flying way above what it should have. And I don't know if you heard, but in New Zealand, there was a military vessel, a battleship, a $100 million vessel. The captain was a female lesbian, and the ship sank.
Oh.
Yep. $100 million ship. It sank. So when people are chosen just for, virtue signaling's sake, disaster. And it should be people are chosen on whether or not they can do the job. And it happens to be that you end up with almost all men doing captain roles or piloting roles, then so be it.
But I know a lot of female pilots that are fantastic. They've been flying for 30 years with Qantas, unblemished record, perfect.
Yeah, like I was saying, if I should be chosen just on the ability.
On merit, that's all, on ability and
on
merit.
merit, and it's a big safety issue. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I take it you fly a lot.
yes, not as a pilot though, as a passenger.
Well, as a passenger, I mean, if you knew your pilot, you have to have confidence in your pilot. If you knew they were hired because to meet some quota for race or sex or whatever, how would you feel?
I tell you what, the airlines that I fly with don't do that. So
okay.
I'm absolutely comfortable. The day I won't be comfortable is when I'm told that the pilot is working from home. That would be a problem.
Not a drone. You wouldn't be on a drone. Eh?
Exactly.
What is it? Pilot. We had driverless cars, and you said pilotless
pilotless planes. Yeah. Oh, that's going to happen actually. In Dubai, they're launching pilotless taxis.
Yeah, the taxi is one thing, but
flying taxis.
What?
Pilotless taxis, not driverless taxis.
How
They're
far off
air taxis.
Air taxis. How does that work?
They get up from a certain helipad.
Yeah.
And they land at a certain helipad, and they have got electronic instructions to just lift off at a certain. Well, all these instructions. I mean, in theory, it's very simple.
Yeah.
In practice, I'd like to. It'll happen. Because I know Dubai. Dubai, when they decide to do something, they'll do it, and they've been talking about it now for about a year and a half. And a year and a half is a long time for Dubai to decide on something. But it'll happen.
You know, it's one thing having a driverless vehicle where it's on the ground, you think if anything happens, I'll just open the door and try to roll out or whatever. But it's another thing when it's off the ground.
Do you know, all of our little metro in Sydney are driverless.
It's the new systems.
No, all the ones, all the line 1, 2, 3, and the new one, they're all driverless.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable.
They're good. They're very good.
Yeah.
Believe me, take them one day.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine a malfunction or something.
They stop.
You know, even something as simple as, there's cruise controls. I've heard of people where the cruise control didn't work and he kept staying on cruise control and he couldn't put it off. He tried to push on the brakes. It didn't come off and then eventually died, slammed into...
That's unfortunate because they don't know what to do in a case of emergency. Yes, anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
But in a cruise control that gets jammed, you just put the car in neutral. Simple. It'll just stop it going anywhere. Just move the lever to neutral. You drive.
Yeah, I do.
You start the car in park, don't you?
Yeah.
Then you go into reverse neutral drive. If you're stuck driving and your cruise control is on and it's not getting off, you just push the lever back into neutral. It'll neutralize the gearbox. It won't go anywhere. Then you put your foot on the brake and it'll stop. It's very simple. Ask the motoring person.
Okay. I don't think I'd ever get to feel that comfortable.
Hopefully
in driverless.
But I mean, driverless is different though, and you got to remember all the driverless units are under 100% time, 24 hours surveillance from a control box, and if something goes wrong, they just push a button, they stop it.
Okay.
But you got to remember that. Yes, it is driverless, but instead of having a pilot for everyone, there's one big pilot in the room that keeps an eye on the 5 lines. Yeah. That's it. So, oops, telephone.
Okay.
Knock the microphone.
Well, Listen back to the thing. Yeah. Feminists influence women, they've changed. I mean, the attitudes have changed, and a lot of them have lost traditional skills and values to the point where men say they're no longer women or don't know how to be a woman. Like, for example, so many young women don't know how to cook.
I know.
For instance.
I know a lot of people like this. On the other hand, I know a lot of people in the East or in the Middle East, but in the East or in the Far East,
Eastern,
where the wife cooks, sews, fixes things at home, cleans, does all sorts of things that a man would know what to do with. So, yes, there are women here nowadays who live off fast food.
Yeah.
or even prepared meals.
TV dinners.
TV dinner type things.
That's
yeah.
sad.
Well, I have friends. I mean, they moved to Queensland now, but they lived in Sydney, and they lived off TV dinners. We were visiting one day, and my wife says, "What do you cook?" She says, "I don't. I just get TV dinners. They're all frozen. I just pull it out, and he eats."
Why she doesn't want to cook?
She doesn't know how. Never
That's
knew
sad.
how.
That's sad.
Parents never taught them how.
Well, no inclination to learn. I mean, with YouTube, anything you want to cook, it's there.
Yeah,
Recipes there.
I know. I use it a lot.
Yeah, I use it a lot when I want a recipe or something I want to make. I don't know how to do, and it just improves your. I think it's actually I find it. I'm actually proud of myself when I start learning new and accumulating new skills. And then I think that this is something that unfortunately people don't realize. I mean, just even simple skill of cooking. I mean, it's far better for you over long term than just getting takeaway or going to a restaurant.
I agree with you. I love cooking. I have a great wife. She's a great cook. She's amazing. Every once in a while, I'd like to sort of put my fingers into it and just do something. And she usually she says, "I don't want to be in the kitchen when you do all of that." I walk away and I come back and eat. And nobody eats good food. But yeah, I'm lucky. I'm a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
But I can also cook.
Yeah, that's good.
I can clean. I can do a lot of things.
That's a very, very important as well.
Yeah.
Well, you know why? This is another thing that people think you both should be able to do the other person's job. Not as well as the other person, but in case something happens to the other person, then you need to step up and fill in.
So smart.
Just like you say, what if you had an injury in your right hand?
Yeah.
What happens? Well, your left hand then has to step up and do all that.
The job, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you're stuffed.
Yep.
Yeah. So it has to be able to. She normally doesn't earn money. Something happens to the husband. He might have had a heart attack or something. He can't work for a while. Need time to recover. Then she should be able to go out and get a job and earn. Wouldn't be as much as he would, but it's enough to get them through the period.
Yeah, but you never know. I mean, women.
You never know.
Women. I mean, before they get married, a lot of them work. A lot of them go to school. They go to university. They get a degree.
Yeah.
They get a job. They do whatever, and 90% of the times they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
Whether they work at a supermarket as a checkout chick, as they call them, or whether she's a banker, or whether she becomes, anything in HR or big companies or corporations. But a lot of them chose to also have kids and have the nurturing feeling of raising children.
Woman's instinct, you see. Yeah, it's that nurturing thing. I mean, come on. I mean, remember pushing women as society, saying this is your career is so much more important, but when women are free to choose without social pressure, they go with their natural instinct. They want to be a stay-at-home mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very fulfilling. And like I say, you can either do one job extremely well, have you focused, or be mediocre at two things because you split your time.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, but another, the thing with the man, good that men can cook in case something happens to the woman. I mean, you're just going to be
TV dinners.
And I'll tell you, I think this I heard from a guy. Okay, he was Greek, but I think it's also prevalent in Middle Eastern society. And he refused to cook and learn how to cook because he was making a statement because he's a man. Men don't cook. Oh, because he was a man. Men do not cook.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's old-fashioned.
And that's sad. I mean,
that's old-fashioned. I mean, really, it's stupid. He's going to go very hungry otherwise.
Yeah, the woman to cook.
I have a friend of mine who is not married at the moment, and he's always told me, he says, find me a wife who knows how to cook good food, and then I'll get married. And I said, you don't need a wife. You need a cook.
Yeah.
Just rent one.
Yeah.
Like you would pay for the wife, rent a cook.
Yeah.
They'll get you food at home all done.
Yeah.
So, but that's sad. That's a lot of people have got this attitude.
But can he cook himself at all, or he just?
Yeah, he gets by.
He gets by, but I guess he wants.
But I mean, he was jokingly. Yeah, look, he's in his late 50s now, and
he never married.
Never married. Yeah.
Is there a reason why?
I think it was one of those long lost, broken love affairs that never worked out, and he's a migrant also. He came here from another country and so on. So.
And then after a while, kind of like too late kind of thing. Couldn't be bothered.
But I mean. It's hard when you get married. When you're young, when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 to 22, you're malleable. You're soft.
Yeah.
You're like a gentle, soft material.
Yeah.
And when you get somebody else and you just you get head on, you've got attitudes and you've got thoughts in life, and the other person has, but you give a bit and the other person gives a little bit, and then you give a little bit and the other person gives a little bit, and then eventually you melt into a one entity, a one unity, where each has got his and her own thoughts, but you've got to give in a little bit. Because the other person might not like the way you do things, and you might not like the way the other person does things, but you have to compromise. You compromise and you make it happen. You get into your 40s and 50s and you haven't married before, you haven't lived with somebody else.
You start to be
it
set
is
in your
so
ways.
hard.
Set in your ways.
You're set in your ways. It's so hard to just compromise and do things. And that's why I think a lot of people, when they miss that boat, they miss that little age bracket, be it men or women. Yes, men at 80 can have children, whereas women, they reach a certain age and physically the body cannot do that.
Can I do it at 40?
But in terms of mentally melting into one person, it's hard the older you get.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Too set in your ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what? It comes down to with, can you be a team player at that age kind of thing?
It's not a team player anymore. There's just two people. There's just a joint affair. It's not 10 people that you're going to mix with. It's one, head on.
But we agree that marriage is about being a team?
Yeah, a very small team.
A small team, a partnership, I should say.
Partnership, more than a team.
We're in this together.
Absolutely, and if you can't make it happen, it's a bit of a problem.
But you know, if you're not that type of person that can play with someone else or work with someone else, just like at work, there's someone might be brilliant but cannot work with other people, so they slot into a corner and with his own work, so he doesn't interact with other people. It's just like some people should not marry because they can't.
Yeah, they're not interactive.
Not interactive, and that's fine. Yeah. Like I say, it's not for everyone, but marriage provides so many additional benefits.
But the world won't survive if you don't have marriages.
If you don't have marriage.
Simple.
It is simple. That is a big thing now with marriage. Do people really know what marriage is? Michelle, what's your take?
What's my take for marriage?
Yeah. Do people really know what marriage is?
I don't know. I think they know. Maybe 50% know. Another 40% think they know. And 10% have no idea.
You know what? We ask people, what's a marriage? I think the first reaction is, why would you ask me such a dumb question? Everyone knows what marriage is. Well, yeah. Can you please tell me what it is? It was. That's when they get stuck. That thing you have a wedding and then you sign the certificate and that's. Well, kind of like someone you love and you decide to spend the rest of your life with, and and then they get stopped. Surprise.
But I mean, look, it depends. Marriage is different to everybody. When you ask somebody what is marriage, and they'll tell you, depending on their culture, if they're Christian and really strong believers, it's the union of two people.
In the presence of God.
That's right, all that, for better or for worse, or, in health or sickness, all of that until, and then you talk to other people who are from another faith, whether it's Asian faith or Islamic faith or African, whatever, and their attitude is different.
Yeah.
Their attitude is, I'm marrying someone because I need a wife, and that woman needs a man. And that's it. A lot of people get married without even knowing each other.
Yeah.
I have seen so many marriages where I ask the father of the groom or the father of the bride, who is the other person? He says, it's a good guy. We asked, good family, and he's a good worker. He earns good money, and he needs a wife. And they met, and they like each other, and they're getting married next week. What? I mean, how do you do things like this? And the other way around is the girl is looking for a husband. It's her age. She has to get married now.
Yeah.
So it's a case of, Oh, we found a nice man. He's not a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. And same thing. It's crazy that in today's society, this is still happening. But what is today's society? I can tell you very simply, when I got married, I met my wife in a situation. It was not at a bar. It was not at the disco. We met at some friends. We talked. I kind of like her. She liked me. We talked again, and we decided to go out to have something to eat, and we met, and we went out, and we kept going out, and I went out for 2 years before I asked her. And after I asked her, she agreed, and we still got engaged for a year, and then we got married.
So you took your time.
I took my time to know her. She took her time to know me.
But you didn't live together before marriage?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Was that a cultural thing, or that was a personal choice?
It was more cultural and a personal choice too. I mean, like we didn't want to do that until we got married.
Yeah,
Simple.
of course.
Even though I had an apartment already, all that, and she still lived at home. She lived with her parents. She could have just moved in overnight.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do that.
No. That's the thing, because you know what? She's smart. And that's what I say. Living together before marriage, like I said, it benefits men far more than women. It does. Because men then get all the benefits of a marriage without any of the commitment.
True. So right.
Yeah. So it's not, that's why, and the other thing is when couples that do live together without being married, more like they usually don't end up marrying.
I know a lot of people who've been together for 10, 15 years, and they said, I think it's time to get married. And I usually say, why?
What's the point now?
What bother?
What's the point?
What's so special about it? Oh, she wants the ring. Well, give her a ring. Don't need the paper.
Well, why
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, why do that in person? But
after 10, 15 years now, you want to get married? I mean, to say what? Obviously, it's not in front of God. You're not Christian as such.
Yeah.
You're just doing it because it's fun, because it's accepted. But people accepted you for 10 years.
And I'll tell you, at the heart of every woman, she wants a day, her day. Yeah, of acknowledgement, and the women would never admit it, and that's why you see a lot. When you ask a couple that's just living together, why didn't you marry, or why aren't you getting married? What's their answer? What's their response?
Tell me.
Okay, almost always they said, marriage is just a piece of paper, it doesn't mean anything. We love each other, and saying that's all that matters. Almost universally, you hear that. However, what you never hear, but the truth is, women always want to get married, and in her hearts of hearts, she's kind of saying, hoping that he'll change his mind and then get married, and she's holding on and hoping. She's worried about pushing him to
get married for what?
To
have the day, to get dressed nicely and
actually there's a title of wife is different from the title of girlfriend.
Okay.
You see. But she's worried if she pushes him, he might leave. So you'd even ask the woman, she said, marriage is just a piece of paper. She's not going to admit, well, have you heard any, no doubt this happened, the reasons are true, but you would never hear a woman admit to saying, I want to get married, but he doesn't want to, and I'm worried if I push it, he'll leave me. No woman's going to admit to that.
But
that undoubtedly these are reasons.
There's no strength in that union.
Yeah, but she's going on hoping.
Yeah.
The women they're hoping that he'll change the name. Yeah, that's why I'm saying living together benefits men far more than women. That's why women, like your wife, she was a smart woman. She held on to her value. She had a standard. You see, she knows what she's worth.
Absolutely.
And that is the title of wife, not just, living girlfriend.
I agree with you.
So that's why...
Or as they'd like to call it now, partner.
Oh, now spouse.
Spouse.
Spouse not really much, because spouse implies a marital partner.
Spouse is man or a woman, and doesn't matter. So it's partner too.
But it's more like partner. It's my partner.
But it's everybody. I mean, even married. I mean, I've seen my boys... introduce their wives as their partner.
That's sad.
And I said
why
one day, I asked one day, I said, why do you say partner? Oh, but that's what everybody says now.
Yeah, see, they just go along with the trend.
Society, unfortunately.
That's their society. No, that's your wife. And you have to tell them that you should be proud of saying that. That's your wife. And then, but just before the break, like we were going on to difference, without marriage, society would not have survived. If they, say, just live together without a marriage.
Would they have survived?
Yeah, you say society. I mean, marriage, they say, serves different functions, but it's almost like society is structured in a way. This household has this man and this woman. And it would have been registered, I guess, with the authority if they went through a marriage certificate. And that's almost like it's like a formal union.
It is a formal union.
It is a formal union. And
especially in Australia and in countries where it is a legality. I mean, in Australia, you can't just walk in tomorrow and get married. You got to apply.
You got to apply, yes.
It's 30 days before you get an approval. So you just don't jump into it.
And I think once upon a time you had to have a blood test too. Is that the case?
It's not a legal thing, as far as I know.
Was it ever a legal thing?
I don't think so. I mean, we did the blood test, I recall, but it was just simply to make sure that there was no
genetic
incompatibility, genetic problems or something like this. But then again, how would they know? They don't do a serious, heavy. I think they just make sure that the bloods are. You don't have a problem with your blood. I think they just check that you're not sick.
Oh, okay. Because back then, I wouldn't say in the 60s and 70s with that. I would say that would happen, but the technology back then wasn't the same as now.
I didn't get married in the 60s or the 70s. I was still a baby in the 60s.
Okay.
How old do you think I am? Do you think I'm 100?
No, I'm just talking about generally in terms of the blood tests. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I got married in the 80s, by the way.
You specifically. Yeah. Okay.
So,
but okay, then I'm surprised that still happened.
Yeah, I don't know if they do it now, but I think they just do it simply to make sure that they haven't got anything wrong with them. But compatibility, I mean, can you just do blood tests for compatibility? I don't think so.
I don't think what it was, but the thing with the blood tests, I never really understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
whether or not it was legal, but yeah, once upon a time there was a blood test thing. But also, I have to ask you, you've heard of MGTOW?
Of what?
Of the MGTOW movement.
How do you spell that?
MGTOW, which stands for Men Going Their Own Way.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Okay. This is a movement where men have decided to check out on marriage and stay away from women. So they're going their own way. Okay. And it's mostly they've learned from older men, advice from older men that's been through bad divorces and bad experiences, sometimes more than once. So they advise these younger men to stay away from women and that they're better off on their own. To use them and leave them, etc. So, Michelle, you yourself have been married for how long?
Almost 45 years.
That is amazing. Okay. And so...
Amazing that she stayed with me. Yeah.
So what would you say to young men then? What's the advice you would give? Well, your older man has been through marriage and a very long-term marriage.
Marriage is an amazing thing. An amazing thing from a lot of ways. One is, if you've got the right partner, it's a wonderful life.
Yeah.
If you've got the wrong partner, walk away. Simple. We make mistakes.
Okay.
People make mistakes. Don't make a huge mistake that lasts for a long time.
Will actually ruin your life.
Absolutely.
Make or break you.
And when you get married, unless you are 1,000,000% sure, don't just run away and get kids straight away. Take your time. Get to know your partner.
Well, then you have to marry a younger woman, much younger woman, because women, look, once they hit their 30s, they don't have much time.
30s is okay. It's when they hit the 40s that they got a problem.
Well, when you hit your 40s, they're basically next to nil chance of baby.
Well, yeah, not necessarily, but yeah. So, I mean, marry reasonably young. Look, my dad was in his mid-50s when I was born. So when I was 15, my dad was already 70. So I always said to myself that I will not marry old.
Yeah.
I wanted to marry reasonably young. So I married at 25.
Okay. That's so different from him.
So, well, he didn't marry at 55. He married in his 40s. So my dad was born at the turn of last century. He was born in 1900.
Yeah.
And then when he started thinking about getting married, in those days you had to sort of work, get yourself a business, make some money, get yourself prepared, be able to open a house, as they used to say, and furnish it and all this. And then you marry. And then the Second World War hit. Yeah. So he just couldn't do anything. And at the end of the war, he married. Yeah. He married when he was 46, something like this, 47. Anyway, they had a couple of kids. And then the third child died in hospital. And they decided not to have kids. And then my mum got pregnant. And I came up at 55. So that's how it happened. But in any case, I would have never married at 30, 35. I wanted to marry early.
Because
I wanted to have children. I wanted to enjoy my life with my kids. That was my attitude.
That's the thing. I mean, then you don't have as much time with your dad.
That's right.
Normally,
And I didn't have much time. As much as I had a lot of time with my dad, private time with my dad, and he was an amazing man, very loving, very caring. But I couldn't go and kick a football with him. We just couldn't go swimming together, and a lot of things.
So you missed out on quite a bit with your dad, just simply because of the age.
Because of the age difference. And I just made sure that I would do that with my kid, that I would grow with them and enjoy. And I work with my eldest son. He runs my company. We talk, even though he doesn't live in Australia, we talk daily, once, twice, 3 times.
Oh, he doesn't live in Australia.
No, he married another girl from somewhere else. And my other son doesn't live here. He also married another girl from somewhere else. But, this is life. This is the world. So I would say to any young kid is find the right woman. Don't jump into the first bed. And then once you're sure, get to know her a bit better.
Okay, is there certain criteria or boxes she needs to tick? So you're telling the young men how do the men would think, okay, choose properly. How do I choose? What do I look for?
Well, there's no boxes to tick. Yeah, you've got to get to know the person. I have seen people marry women that I would have thought would be the absolutely wrong person. But these two guys work so well. The guy and a girl. Yeah. That couple is amazing. They work. They complement each other. I couldn't live with the guy. I couldn't live with the girl. They're different people. They're different to my thinking, to my attitude. Maybe I'm old conservative, but I'm also very modern. I have very open ideas up to a point. Like everybody, we've all got a limit to where we go. So I would say get to know them, not necessarily have a list to say, oh yeah, she's got blue eyes, I want blue eyes. I want the blonde one. Yes, she's got to be 175 tall. She's got to be less than 55 kilos. None of that. Yeah. Just personality. You got to live with them. And you see people sometimes, you see good-looking guys marrying what society would say not a good fit. Yeah. Good-looking guy, young, slim, muscular, healthy, and he marries a girl who's about 25 kilos overweight. Yeah. And you think, why?
Why? What does he see in her? That's the thing. Well, that's the people's normal reaction.
Exactly. Now, to me, it's crazy. He's happy. They get along. They've been going out together for 5 years before they decided to marry. Going out together. They're not living together. They're still in separate houses. And then they decided to marry. Great. After 5 years. I think it's fantastic. Something must have worked. So all I say is don't jump into it straight away. Get to know your partner. And try not to live with them first, because you miss out all the excitement for afterwards.
Because then the marriage doesn't seem that special anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no excitement at the end.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you're just getting married to get a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Because you've lived together all that time. What's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is also another thing is men tend to when you say certain physical criteria, certain weight or height, whatever, all those dating apps and dating websites where people search, that is what they mostly put in. I want to see it with this weight, with this height, and they're thinking, then because they filter it out, like when you go, I don't know if you shop online, but
very little, but I do.
Little, but you're aware, like, hey, if I say a fashion website, search for my size, this color, I want a pair of pants, and so forth, and then it filters out.
Yeah, well, that's a bit different than searching for a wife.
Yeah, but on those online dating sites, and
I believe they match you to whatever you've asked for.
Yeah, you put in the filters.
Yeah, you ask for what you want. I want a black girl.
Yeah.
Or I want a Chinese girl, or I want
this side from this side. Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then they're all physical. It's very superficial.
Yeah.
And from doing that, what the disadvantage, unfortunately, is you might filter out your perfect match, simply because you've got preconceived ideas in your mind.
But there are people with preconceived ideas. Look, I mean, I grew up in a society. I grew up in a home where color did not exist. Race did not exist, and there was respect for everyone. We grew up in a very comfortable society. We had people who worked in our place, and we respected every single one of them. From the maid, to the driver, to the cook, to everybody. Yeah. You had to respect them. Like for like.
Like for like, always.
Yeah. And it was always please, thank you. Not the Aussie please, thank you, as in I know my please and my thank yous. I used to just say them like this, I can kill you, but I say I'm sorry. It doesn't work like this. So my attitude was a human was a human.
Yeah.
And it was whether I get along with that human or not. Simple as that. I mean, that's what I say to young kids. Get to know your partner. First of all, you got to be, let's put it that way. Why would that person be a partner? You're attracted somehow. It's normal. You get attracted to the female gets attracted to the male. Maybe for different reasons, but there's an attraction there. And work on that. Work on that. Just think about it. You like her because she's fun. You enjoy your conversation. You laugh a lot. You like the same kind of food. No, you don't like the same kind of food, but you don't mind trying what she's offering you. And she doesn't mind trying what you like. So all of that works together. They say that opposites attract.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
There are things that attract, but there are a lot of things oppositely that are a danger.
A very red flag that no, it will not work. So,
exactly.
There's some. Look, to me, it's opposites attract, and it can work very well provided they complement each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, rather than opposing.
And there's one huge rule that I apply to anybody who asks me about anyone. And I've seen that with so many friends of mine. I like cars, okay?
Yeah.
I've been a motoring enthusiast since I was a child.
Yeah.
And I've been in car clubs with guys who are motoring enthusiasts. I've been in car clubs that were unique to a certain brand and a certain era. So all our attitude is about these models. And one of my good friends, who I thought was a very nice young man, who lived in Newcastle, he used to rebuild gearboxes. I'm giving you an example. He used to rebuild gearboxes. One day he turns up, he's delivering a gearbox when I used to live at Coogee. Come over, bring it over. And he's not driving his big American car that we used to have. He's in a little Toyota, very small Toyota. Not Toyota, Holden.
Yeah.
And he opens the boot, gets a thing, and this girl comes out from the driver's seat. Now he's a 5'8" guy, nothing huge, nothing big. She's a 5'10". She's about maybe 50 kilos overweight, and she's very overbearing. And I thanked him and I paid him for the job. And she says, and I said, "How's your car going?" He says, "Oh, getting there," because he's building a car. And she says, "You won't be playing with cars anymore. Once we get married, that's finished." And I thought, you poor bastard, what's going to happen to you? If you're going to marry someone who's going to change you, you have a problem.
Well, it means you're not compatible to begin with.
If you're going to marry
someone...
someone...
If she needs to change you,
Exactly.
you're not right to each other.
And if you're going to marry someone and say, "I'm going to change her," that's not going to work. I can tell you from the beginning, don't even think about it. Walk away. You don't accept the person as they are, just walk away. So this is the biggest problem. You're going to have to accept whoever's going to be your partner the way they are. If they are not compatible because you will never accept that, then walk away. Find somebody else. There are 7 billion people on the earth. You'll find another girl. You'll find another guy. And that guy, it lasted 18 months.
The marriage? You actually married her?
He actually married her, but the marriage didn't last 18 months.
Yeah.
The relationship lasted 18 months. He married her, like, I think 6 months later.
After meeting her?
After I saw him, which was, I think they had just started going out together. And then under 12 months, he walked away.
Whoa.
And he said that was the biggest mistake in his life. Actually, it's funny. I bumped into him about 6 months ago. We were talking. And I said, how was your... He says, oh, no. He says, I couldn't live with her. She was against everything I liked. Yeah, overbearing and everything.
Then why did you marry her?
But that's what I said to him. He says, oh, well, the good relationship. I think it was the sex.
Okay.
I think so. And that was his... He didn't say that, but I think this was
Goes to show the superficial doesn't last. But unfortunately, that's what men choose for.
Hey, I know a lot of girls who look for things like this.
Yeah,
very superficial.
The superficial.
Yeah.
Everything. And no, but the thing is, it's just that men are the ones that have been really burnt were in recent times through bad divorces. So I think, and then they blame marriage itself, and then don't get married, it's bad or whatever, or they blame the woman that she didn't do this, and she was overbearing, and thinking, come on.
Yeah, but you married her, you accepted her in the first place.
Yeah, didn't you think about all that before you married to Chojak? Like, your friend here there, he really knew that she was overbearing. But he was
kind of accepting her because it was a new relationship and everything was nice and soft in the beginning. But the minute I heard this, he won't be playing with cars anymore. And I thought, it's impossible. He grew up with this. It's his life. He repairs them. He plays with them. That's his. You know how people like swimming. Some people like horseback riding. Some people do whatever it is. He just like playing with cars. Like I still do that. I'm at my age. I still enjoy doing that. It's my passion. I don't smoke. I don't gamble. My
but that's
passion
your hobby.
is it's my hobby.
Yeah, your passion, thing, and that's fine. But it's the thing is, men need to take responsibility for their choices.
And by the way, in Australia, you don't need to do blood tests.
Oh, you don't.
But in America, you do.
And what is it for? Do you know?
I don't know. Premarital medical examination. A number of U.S. states have passed laws mandating medical examination for one or both parties before marriage.
Okay, it's mandate. It's compulsory.
Apparently, yeah. And the most common requirement was a blood test.
Okay, I don't know what they're looking for though.
Well, it doesn't tell us here, but
well,
we're
look,
there.
HIV and all that sort of thing, I understand, but I don't know, unless one of the parties know that they've got a family history of some sort of genetic issue, then it's a good idea, because whether or not they should have children, and I know, I've heard of couples where it just so happens she has this gene and he has this gene, that their child becomes born with a condition.
Yeah.
So if they had married anyone else, it wouldn't have been a problem if they had children with anyone else. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, maybe it's the gene thing. Yeah, that's right.
So in those instances, that's fine. I mean, I think people would have a test if they knew that they had a condition.
I agree. I agree.
Well, a carrier at least for one of those genes. Yeah. But to knowingly and still go ahead and risk your child having that affliction. I think that is very selfish.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So if you're adamant you still want to be with that person, then don't have children.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the way it is.
Yep.
Yep.
Or
either get donor sperm and him get his donor egg. But you don't share a genetic child.
Or just simply adopt.
Or adopt.
Yeah.
But there's issues regarding adoption too. So it's not always that simple.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I mean, men or most people know what they want, but they don't know what they need. They don't really put thought into what they need. Yeah. And it's the need that is the most important, not the want. You can want so many things, okay, but do you need it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, well, what? And then when it doesn't work for them, and then they blame the other person. Like you gotta think, oh, I want someone hot looking, this height and so forth, perfect teeth, dynamic, into adventure and all that, curves. Sounds all hot and well, but then they complain that she doesn't cook. Afterwards, I was thinking, well, that means you really needed someone, a woman that knew how to cook and loved cooking. So why didn't you find someone like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and this is another thing. You know, the women that have the most trouble getting and attracting men, you know what those women are? They're actually the wife material. Men overlook them because why? They're plain and exciting. They're not exciting. Okay, men might say, look, I want a wife. I'll marry the person I marry, the woman I marry. I don't want her to be sleeping, have slept around. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But if you find a woman like that, well, she doesn't sleep around, so that means she's also not going to sleep with you. True.
Yeah.
Yep. But then the woman.
That's how it should be.
It should be, but then men don't accept that. And when they find a woman that sleep with them, well, you are the next Tom, Dick, or Harry.
Yeah. Well.
So you have to
give her the ring, do the proposal, and then she'll sleep with
properly.
you.
Yeah, but I expect sex after the third date, as it was said.
Not going to work.
Yeah, no, really, they do. The amount of comments I've read on the articles about when you sleep out, they said, this day, especially if I paid for dinner. That's the thing, yeah.
Well, go find a prostitute.
Yeah, that's the thing. And look, you know, they might say, I don't want someone that spends excessively on themselves. Yeah, but the woman that doesn't do that, she's not going to look glamorous. Be always up and glamorous. And so then they don't get looked over. It's the women that were with 2 cans of hairspray and lip fillers and full of Botox. That men attract.
Don't read that loud. That's from the chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is he listening?
Yeah, obviously, he must be listening. At least somebody's listening.
Okay. Think of that. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, because they're less attractive visually, you know, these wife material women. Also, okay, those type of women are also usually frugal, so they don't do lots of travel or spend much on hobbies. So then they seem dull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Look, and they're responsible. They're family orientated. You know, with obligation, with responsible to their family, and that's actually what you need in a wife. They look after the family, but then that also seems dull.
Yeah.
So if men reject these women, then they can't complain that, you know, every woman they've met has been the same, nasty or never cooked and was selfish and don't know how to be a woman.
Whoa.
Well, the thing is that because you don't actually look for those type of women because they're invisible to you. You pass them over because they seem plain.
Yeah.
And we're coming towards the end of our show, and I'll have to give a big thanks to Michel for coming in today to give us the male perspective with a lot of experience with marriage, maybe 45 years. Next week? Yeah?
Next week, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Michel's been one to give us, especially the young men, some wisdom regarding marriage, that it is not all doom and gloom as so much with the MGTOW movement. And I guess, look, in a way, I guess you can understand their reticence when they see so many men that have been through messy divorces. And I have to say, so many people have been burnt. Well, say men have been burnt by messy divorces, and they decide, oh, why go there, kind of thing.
Look, it's not a scary situation. It's just a lot of common sense usage.
Yeah.
But sometimes everything that you try and you think of doesn't work because the other person is not the right person.
Yeah.
And that person might have been the right person for 4 or 5 years and decided to change. You see that a lot in movies. And unfortunately, society is very much not based upon, but swayed by what we see on TV and what we watch on the big screen.
What we're influenced by. Popular culture kind of thing.
Maybe popular, maybe unpopular, but it's culture that's affecting us.
Well, yeah, and the culture has been, I can see in the last decade, is stay away from marriage and get an alternate lifestyle and so forth. Marriage is, being painted as uncool.
Marry the same sex. Yeah, why not? Give it a try.
Okay.
You know, I mean, this is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, well, only if you're that way inclined.
Well,
I don't know. It's not for everyone, obviously.
It's not for everyone, exactly. But unfortunately, it's influencing people by just listening to that, saying, okay.
And another thing is, I with all these people putting their hands up with saying, I'm trans or I'm this or I'm that, and thinking, are they really, or are they just following a trend and thinking they're doing it to gain attention and be cool?
Oh, you just hit the nail on the head.
I think you're not
really. That's my thinking.
I don't think you really are. It's impossible to have that sudden influx of people for all of a sudden.
I agree.
So, I guess look, I wouldn't say people really change after a few years. It's just that their true selves come out, and I guess the basis of someone's personality is always there. It's just that it's not obvious yet in the beginning stages until you later comes out. Because look, when we meet someone and we're attracted to that person, we're enthusiastic, and you tend to do things to accommodate the other person. Yeah. And maybe
to look good to the other person.
To look good to the other person, so they'll be interested in you.
And get the other person to be interested in you.
In you, yeah. And maybe I can say it can be like an act that you're not really being yourself.
Okay,
you can put a face. Depends on how much you want that relationship and how much you want that person to pick you. I mean, like, hey, if it's a billionaire, you're going to be putting in a lot of effort, wouldn't you? If it's a billionaire, there's a big incentive for you to get to rein that big fish in, to be able to hook. Yep. Okay. So that's more, and then the longer, and then that's why I actually, in a way, pity the ultra wealthy, because they tend not to have good relationships, and because they're surrounded by yes people and people that just want to make them happy, and like them. So that's why it's difficult. They don't know who's real, who's a real person that actually really does like them. It's very difficult.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you.
And that's why after a while people, when say the mask comes off, because it's look, you can never ever truly be happy unless you're able to be yourself.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with you. You have to be yourself, and you've got to act like yourself, and you shouldn't be doing anything stupid.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks so much for your input today, Michelle. And look, is that invite for me to go on your show?
Yeah, next Saturday we'll talk about how women can't run in Formula One. You're going to have Tim on your back, and
okay, we'll be there.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can follow me on Facebook. Just search for Miss Dragonfly, and also have another Facebook page for the Make Marriage Great Again. It'd be great if you followed both, but at least follow one. I do post different things on either of the pages, so. Follow that, and and I do have my book, Your Complete Partner, as a free download. So just visit my website, makemarriagegreatagain.net, to download your free book. So on that, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please feel free to leave comments on my Facebook page or any questions that you have. But until next time, see you again, same time next week. It's bye for now.